Ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds, welcome back to another episode of Road to HermitCraft, and we're over here in the end as we were last episode, and we're going to be doing some work over here today. Today's going to be a bit more of a chill episode, I think. What I'd like to do today is to concentrate on the outer sphere of our Death Star. We need to make some progress on that, and I think that's what we're going to concentrate on. So let me just land over here, will do. Oh yeah, okay. So this thing here is what we're going to be focusing on today. Now the trouble with this is, how do you make this interesting? Because just putting down blocks and blocks like this is not all that interesting to watch. So what we're going to do is, I asked in our Discord server for a bunch of suggestions about things you'd like me to talk about, and I've got a whole bunch of those things. So during this episode, we're going to pick a whole bunch of those and talk about them as we go. But first of all, before we do that, I thought what we'd do is hop into a creative world and show you how I'm designing the outer sphere of the Death Star. Because as you can see here, probably from the inside, it's not so easy, but we'll see properly in the creative world. You can see that we've got different colours, these two different colour greys. We've got this light grey concrete, and also we've got the cyan terracotta. And you can see we have these lines that go sort of in between there to kind of give it the look of the Death Star. And this top bit here we've got is just solid light grey concrete. So that's where we're up to, and that's as much as I've designed actually. So we need to design up the rest as we go. Yeah, so let's hop into a creative world and take you through the process. And here is the design for the Death Star so far. Looking pretty cool, but there is quite a bit of it I'm not happy with, and we'll go into that in a minute. But yeah, we've got quite a bit to do. So far we're up to here. So this is the big bit of concrete, the grey concrete that we've laid, and yes, that's where we're up to. So we've got to do all of this all the way up there, quite a lot to go. But yeah, let's talk about what we've got so far. So as you can see, as I said before, it's made up of these two different colours of grey, and we're up to here. But what we've got to do is we've got to add these kind of lines that go around to give it this kind of Death Star look. Now the lines that I've got down here, these ones here, I did all of those freehand. So I just kind of went round and just placed those blocks manually. Some of them look okay, but some of the angles of some of them aren't quite right. I'm not going to go back and redo those, but I kind of learned a lesson from that. I didn't like it. So what I've done since that last clip, actually, I've done a bit of work on these two levels, and actually I'm using World Edit to make this job a lot more accurate and look better, but also a lot quicker than placing all these blocks manually. So why don't we hop inside the sphere and I'll explain how I do it. And here we are on the inside of the empty Death Star, looking quite eerie. But yeah, this is what it looks like from the inside. And I've just got this pillar of sea lanterns that goes up through the very centre, which we'll use shortly. But yeah, hopefully we can see a bit better here what I was talking about. So this ring here, this is the one that I placed the lines down manually, and you can see that some of those lines, like the angle of those, just isn't quite right. And yeah, it looks okay, but yeah, not really happy with it. So what I wanted to do was, before we build the rest of it up, is to fix that and get a much better look. And also it took a long time to kind of go around placing all those blocks manually. So yeah, got a better solution for that now, using our friend World Edit, which is what we used to build the sphere in the first place. This stuff above the trench, this was again all placed manually, and I'm not happy with that at all. So this is all going to get redone. So forget about that for the time being. But what I want to do today is I want to first of all get the design good and correct up into the trench if we can. Then we can take a new schematic and make a start on getting this stuff built up. So up from here and up as far as we can in this episode. So how do we do it? So let's go down here and I'll tell you how to use World Edit to create these lines. So to start adding lines in this section here, and adding some vertical lines, we're going to use the Polygon selection tool in World Edit. And you set that by using the cell poly command. That changes the default cuboid to polygon. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a triangle selection. So let's pick this bottom row here. So you left click on that one. So that gives you the position there. Those coordinates are important. We'll come back to those later. And then if we pick two more points, let's pick a point over here. So if you right click here and then maybe here as well. So now we've made a selection. There's going to be basically a 3D kind of triangle. Now what I can do is to show you that, this is not how we're going to do it, but I'll show you it, is we can, if we do set, let's say glass, this will give you a visual representation of what the selection looks like. So here we picked that bottom block right there, and then we picked the top block here and the top block there. And so what it did then is it made this kind of 3D shape out of it. Now obviously what we're going to do now is, instead of using glass, what we're actually going to do is we're going to replace any cyan terracotta with light grey concrete. And so what it will do is it will only affect the outside of the sphere. So let me just undo that. And it's gone as if by magic. And now if we just go outside, it's better to do it from the outside I've found. Let's just punch our way out. So first of all, I'm going to deselect everything to clear our selection. And then I'm going to set our first position, which is the first left click we did. You can also do it through commands. And these are the coordinates. So if you do pos1 and then the coordinates of that bottom block in the center, that does that. And now if we just right click in 2 positions out here, so let's say here, and then let's say here. If I now come back a bit, now instead of placing glass, if I was to replace the concrete, I've got the command here somewhere, there it is. So there we go. If I replace the stained terracotta with the concrete, it looks like that. So what we could do now is we could just go through this process all the way around. So the process is deselect, pick the block in the center. We then have to right click 2 positions out here. So let's say we want a line here. So from maybe here to say here. And then we replace the terracotta with the concrete and it comes in. There we go. And if we look inside, there's no other blocks affected because all we're doing is replacing the terracotta. So there we go. So what we've got to do is do that all the way around for this level and also this level right here. So as I work on this this layer, yeah, I'm going to go through a few bits and pieces that we can talk about. So let's just do this one right here, see what it looks like. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I'm trying to not make this look too much like brickwork either. Want to try and make it like a bit random-ish, I guess, as I go. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about a few things. So yeah, got a whole bunch of suggestions from people in our Discord server. So if you're not in Discord, then I highly recommend getting over there. We're having lots of interesting discussions this week in particular. And yeah, so the first thing, I just want to recap on some stuff that's happened this week. First of all, this week I was involved in a collaboration video with some other hermits and some people from Full Symmetry's community, a little video wishing her a happy birthday. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll stick a link in the description. Yeah, I highly recommend going and checking that out. That was really really a fun thing to do. Just there's quite a few people in it, so I think like the Zoomers in it and Cub Fan and or a few others I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, a few other people were involved, and lots of people from the community, patrons, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was super fun and interesting and good to get involved, that kind of thing. And the next thing from this week actually sparked some lively debate in our Discord server. So yeah, yeah, highly recommend getting involved with that. But yeah, I put a couple of suggestions in the new or the revamped Minecraft feedback website. So and what they were was, first of all, I suggested adding an auto-crafter block, and the basic idea of that, how it would work, is you would have like a new block and it would be quite similar to a furnace. So it would take items as input, and then it would have a fuel source of some kind, and then the sort of the GUI interface for it would be looks like a crafting grid, you know, a 3x3 crafting grid. And then what you then do is you can put any items in that crafting grid to specify your recipe, and then what it would do is it would take some input, and if those items were available, it would then use up some fuel and also take some time, and the output would be the crafted recipe. So that would be really useful for things like if you've got an iron farm, for example. You could add a hopper coming out of the iron farm that goes into one of these auto crafting blocks, and then you could have a recipe inside for an iron block, and then out of your iron farm, instead of having ingots, you'd have iron blocks. So that would be super useful. Now the downside for this kind of thing is it's quite overpowered maybe. So what we were thinking is, and how the discussion went, was we wanted to kind of limit how many a player would have in the world, and we would do that the same way that the game does things like beacons, for example. So we'd make it like an end game kind of thing, so you wouldn't have hundreds of these typically. So yeah, and how we did that was we was thinking. So first of all, the crafting recipe for one of these should involve a nether star to start with. So yeah, that would be one thing. So you at the beginning you've then got to make a decision. You know, do I want to have a beacon or do I want to have an auto crafter, for example, that kind of thing. And also we're thinking that maybe the fuel should be dragon's breath. Dragon's breath isn't really used that much. I know you can use it for lingering potions, but I don't think many people use them at all. So that would be a good use for that item. So yeah, we had some good, lively debate out of that, and I think we've got a good suggestion moving forward. So I'm going to update the suggestion on the feedback with what we came up with. So that would be good. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what people think about that kind of block. Oh yeah, that's working too. I find it quite hard to talk and do this at the same time. But that was that. Yeah, the other suggestion that I had was something I've mentioned previously, and that is to have a block in the game that can block a beacon beam. So you know, we obviously have beacon beams, and you could put glass in it currently to kind of change the colour of a beacon beam. I think it'd be really cool if there was another block like glass that you could put inside the beam, and it wouldn't affect the operation of the beacon at all, but what it would do is it would stop the beam at that point. So that's something that we would definitely use in the Death Star, so we could put it in the roof so that the beacons we've got inside the Death Star wouldn't shoot out the top of the Death Star. So that'd be useful for us, but I think that would give a lot of sort of creative options if you wanted to use beacon beams as decoration. So yeah, that was the other suggestion. And I will put a link in the description to those suggestions on the feedback site, so you can go and read all about it, and yeah, add any comments or suggestions you've got for it as well. Let's just fix this up. Yeah, so the last thing for this week was yeah, I managed to put out a tutorial, which is something that a few people have been asking me to do for a little while, and also I've been wanting to do, but just haven't really had a lot of time. But I thought since we did last week, we did a load of the carrot farms and potato farms, I thought I'd get a tutorial out about those, which I've done. Again, if you haven't seen that, I'll stick a link in the description to that. That was pretty cool to make. One thing I realised after I made it, I got all excited and put it out there, and then I tried it in 1.13 snapshot and it doesn't quite work. There's a few little minor things, but the good news is there's a really quick and easy fix to make, so that farm will work in the future. So that's good news for our farms in this world, and also if you want to make that farm as well, yeah, it will work in 1.13 with a minor tweak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until until the final release of 1.13, and then I'm going to put out a video just with how to convert that farm and make it work in 1.13. So that is that. So yeah, that's everything that happened this week of interest. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so we're now up on the next section to do. I've done a couple of lines already, so they're looking pretty cool. So yeah, let's go on to the next sort of few topics. So yeah, so the next topics are going to come from what people have said in Discord that they'd like me to talk about. So the first thing is what I think about modded, and if I play modded, have I played modded, would I play modded, all that kind of stuff. Just yeah, that kind of topic in general. And yeah, so I've never played modded before. It's something I'm kind of interested in. And I've watched a few videos. I think Wells Knight did a good series recently, and I was watching that with my son, which is pretty good and pretty interesting. I think the thing that has put me off a little bit is just how different it is and how much there is to learn about vanilla. Watching some of these guys play modded, once you know the packs and stuff, I guess it's okay, but there is so much more to learn, so much more to do, and I don't know if if I've got the time investment to do that. So maybe, I guess, is the thing, if there was maybe a pack that was vanilla-ish, but added some other things to it, I guess maybe that would be all right. So yeah, I guess yeah, I don't have much more to say than that, in that I haven't played it before, so it's hard to say for certain. But I think at the moment I'm still cool with vanilla. I'm still getting plenty out of it. I haven't sort of lost interest or anything like that, so I don't feel the need for anything different. But yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think in the comments about modded. What's a good way to start off? Is there a good sort of good starter pack to kind of get you introduced to it, or what do you think? So that would be interesting to hear. And the southern hemisphere has been done. We've got all the vertical lines in place. Yeah, I think it looks all right. It doesn't look too bad. Yes, I've looked at some pictures and I've tried to keep it somewhat like the Death Star. So these horizontal lines that go round, they're the same horizontal lines that run the Death Star in terms of pictures and roughly how much spaced apart they are, that kind of thing. When it comes to these lines going down, I've just tried to sort of add them sort of randomly just to get some different colour in there. Not sort of made that too accurate at all. So but yeah, I think it looks all right. I think it looks okay. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to update the schematic, get that into our world, and then we can start placing these blocks. And here we are back in the world. We've updated the schematic and loaded it up. All looks good, ready to go. Yeah, quite a bit of work here to get up there. I'm not sure how far we're going to get this episode, but yeah, I'm just going to crack on, just try and lay as much of this as we can. Of course, what happens is it's a sphere that gets bigger as it goes out. These rings get bigger and bigger, and they'll take more time each one as we go, until we get to there, and then we'll start going in again, and then it'll get quicker. But yeah, I've got a few resources to hand. So obviously I need a whole bunch of torches to light up. I've got a bunch of the terracotta and also the concrete in my inventory, and I've got a sugar box here of some more concrete, some more terracotta, and in my ender chest I've got a bit more of the terracotta right here and a bit more concrete powder that we can make up. So yeah, let's get cracking. So I've made first bit of progress. So I've done about half of one ring. So we started just over there, if I can show you. Yeah, just there we started. So I've gone all the way around just about half a ring. And I wanted to just check on the resources, how much this has taken. So yeah, I haven't used too much of the concrete, so we're doing all right for that stuff. But the terracotta is going down pretty quick. Already done 3.5 stacks for half a ring. So I guess it's going to take like 7 stacks of terracotta per ring. So yeah, we'll probably run out of terracotta before anything else. But yeah, anyway, going to just carry on with this and sort of show you how I do it. So yeah, we've got the schematic loaded up, and it's got a really cool mode where you can just show a layer at a time. So rather than showing the whole thing, just showing this layer. And it's also got this pick block ability. So just like you can pick a normal block by clicking your center wheel, you can, if you hold down shift and center click on this block you haven't placed yet, it will put that in your inventory, in your hand, if you've got it in your inventory, just like normal pick block works. So that also speeds us up a little bit. So now I can just quickly switch blocks when I need to, and yeah, not too bad. So I can do this pretty quickly now. Sometimes I make mistakes, but it's not too hard to correct. But yeah, I can like that. But yeah, I can go around and do this not too bad. All right. So the next thing to talk about. So I got asked by a couple of people, what kind of plans have we got for 1.13? Once 1.13 comes out, what does that mean for this world? And what does it mean for kind of builds? I've got any builds planned, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm planning to upgrade to 1.13 relatively quickly, I think. We need to see what state it's in once it gets released. We need to see what's broken, how many bugs there are, that kind of stuff. But I'm anticipating upgrading pretty quickly. I think that'd be interesting for content as much as anything else. And then once the upgrade is complete, I've got a few builds in mind. I guess before we get onto the builds, we'll have to fix anything that's broken in the world. So I know these farms will need a slight tweak, so we'll have to do that. And I'm sure there'll be some other things that need fixing. So probably have an episode where we go around and just fix everything that needs fixing. And then after that, yeah, I've got a couple of builds in mind already. So the first build is actually here. What I'm thinking of is redoing the elevator, our people elevator, player elevator, and I want to use bubble columns for that. And what I'd really like to do, I'm not sure if I'll have the skill to do it, but I'd really like to have a way to select what level you want to go to. And the cool thing about our elevator is we only need to worry about going up. We've already got a system for going down, so it'd be cool if we can get onto the elevator at any level and pick a new level that's higher than that, and then it shoots us all the way up in one bubble column all the way to that level, and then we can get out. So I've got a few ideas. I've started doing a bit of experimentation in the snapshots, but I don't want to spend too much time on that just yet in case things change. But I've got a few ideas about that, so that would be a cool build to do. The other thing I want to do is the gold farm. So I did a video quite some time ago with one of the earlier snapshots about how to do a gold farm with pigmen and turtle eggs. So I'd like to do that. So I want to do a bit more experimentation with that and see what we can do with that kind of farm to make it more interesting as well, because it's pretty straightforward. So I wonder if there's some other ways of doing some things with that. So yeah, that'd be the next thing with those. I don't think I've got anything else specific planned. Obviously, it's the aquatic update, so it'd be cool if we could do some things in the ocean. So, but yeah, need to think about that and yeah, come up with some ideas. So since the last clip, I have been pretty busy. Yeah, I've got 5 layers done in total now since we started down here. So yeah, making some progress. But yeah, I'm pretty much out of terracotta. This is all I've got left. So that's probably enough for one more layer, but not much more than that. So I think before we carry on, why don't we head over to the mesa, get ourselves some terracotta and have a nice change of scenery. We're traveling through hyperspace to the mesa biome. And we're here. Oh geez, what a derp. So yeah, we're over at the mesa and I've got ourselves set up with a beacon, so we get haste 1. That's all you need to insta-mine terracotta, and there's nothing more satisfying than instant mining in Minecraft. So yeah, I'm going to do a whole bunch of this stuff as we talk. So yeah, got a few more questions that I'm just going to go through, like in no particular order. So a few short ones. So first of all, does pineapple belong on a pizza? Now, I can't believe this question was even asked because there is only one obvious answer, and that is yes, of course it does. Of course. How could you have a Hawaiian pizza without pineapple? One of my favourite pizzas. So yeah, the answer is yes, of course. No flame wars in the comments, please. The next question is DC or Marvel? And I think the answer to that for me is Marvel. I haven't really, when it comes to comics and stuff, I've really just grown up with the, I say grown up, I was a fully grown man, but yeah, with the movies. I was never really a comic guy, I guess. But yeah, I've really got into the movies and sort of got into the whole kind of Marvel universe. So that stuff's really good. And I think the DC films have been a bit of a letdown. Apart from Wonder Woman, that was really good, but apart from that, DC have been a bit rubbish, let's say. I think they've got a bit of work to do to catch up with Marvel on that front. So yeah, I would say Marvel on that front. And another question, another quick one in a similar kind of vein, for you programmers and you programmers that watch, tabs or spaces is the question. And of course, again, there is only one obvious answer to that, and that is spaces. That won't make sense if you're not a programmer, but if you are, no flaming in the comments, please. Oh jeez. And the next question that we got from some of the peeps in Discord was to talk a little bit about life as a programmer. Obviously that's what I do for a living. So yeah, I guess that would be kind of interesting. So I thought rather than sort of give you like background and that kind of stuff, I think maybe what I'll talk about is 2 things. Maybe the highs and lows of being a programmer. And obviously this is for me how I kind of see it. So let's start off with the highs. So the highs are when you solve a problem and things start to work. I guess it's a bit like redstone. So when you build a redstone contraption, you kind of start off with a blank canvas. You know, there's nothing working, and then you try and build something. And sometimes these things can be quite complex. And then in the end, you get something working, and you get that real sense of satisfaction that you solved the problem. You've got an elegant solution, things are working, and yeah, that's just a real good high. You know, when you build something, you know, from scratch, that's a real good high point, I would say, being a programmer. Now, the low point for me is when you build something for a customer or a client, and they're really happy with what you've built, and you're really happy with what you've built, and it's a really good thing that's come out of it. But then the customer doesn't really have a plan going forward, and this thing you've built for them, although it's really good and does everything they need, they don't really have like a marketing plan or a business plan, and then it ultimately fails. And so then it feels like you've wasted a whole bunch of time, and they've wasted a whole bunch of money building something that won't ever be used because they don't really know how to market it or turn it into a real business. So yeah, that's a bit of a low, I think, in terms of programming. And I suppose another low of being a programmer is when you make a mistake and maybe you delete the live database that's running. Yeah, not that anyone I know that's done that. Alright, I think I've gathered enough for now. My pick is almost broken, and I've got 2 shulker boxes full of terracotta, and I think I've got enough dye to dye this stuff up. So I'm going to go back to base, get it dyed up, and then head on over to the Death Star, where we can lay maybe a few more layers of the sphere, and then it'll be enough, I think, for this episode, because time is moving on. So let's get cracking. And we're back in the Death Star, and let me show you what we've got. So we've got the 2 shulker boxes full of the terracotta all dyed up, and a bit extra here that was left over from when we were here before, and a little bit I had extra in my inventory, but this is all of the green dye we've got. So we're going to need some more green dye very soon, so that might be a new addition to the Death Star in a very short period of time. But yeah, let's get cracking. Let's get the schematic back up. So I don't have much time left, I don't think, so maybe let's see if I can do the next 3 layers so we get that 1 layer of concrete along the top. Let me get moving with that and see if I can get that done. And as I work on these last few layers for today's episode, maybe the last thing we can talk about is maybe some future things about the channel and the series. So the series is going really well and the channel is going really well. Really happy with everything that's going on, and obviously the community that's growing around the channel is fantastic. You know, I think probably one of the best communities I've ever seen, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased, but yeah, it's been really good. But yeah, moving forward, we need to think about a few things. So first of all, obviously, as the series gets longer and longer, when we have more and more episodes, that becomes harder and harder for new people to get involved with the series, because obviously you see a high episode number and it's a bit daunting for someone to go back and watch the whole back catalogue of episodes. So we do need to have like some good ways of new people being able to join the series. So I guess we'll have some points maybe every 50 episodes where we do a world tour, have a download, that kind of thing. If there's anything else you can suggest that would make it easy for people to new people to get involved with the series, that would be greatly appreciated in the comments. So we'll do that. I think the other thing to get new people involved in the channel is to have some more varied content. So I'd like to do some more tutorials. I really enjoyed doing those, and obviously I did one this week, but yeah, I want to do some more of those. So that would be a good way to get new people introduced to the channel. So especially with 1.13 coming out, there's a good opportunity there to revisit some old tech, reinvent it, put a new spin on things. So yeah, hopefully we can do some of that moving forward. And there is our Borg cube. And that means the Death Star is getting bigger because we can now see it. Yeah, we're getting bigger, and I've done a few more layers, and we've done this this full concrete layer. This is the one that we designed up in Creative earlier on today. Yes, we've added an extra 8 layers of the Death Star, looking pretty good. Now I've not sort of flown around and had a look from the outside yet, so why don't we go and do that and see how this thing looks. So let's go over here. Let's go to our Rebel fleet as it is at the moment. We will be extending this at some point in the future, and let's go and fly back. Oh yeah, it's getting bigger. Check this out. This is looking good. Oh yeah. Alright, so yeah, we've done some good progress now, and I think you can probably tell now we've got a lot of infrastructure in place that makes this actually doable now. So we've got easy access to our mesa. We've got some good access to black dye from our Guardian farm. We can trade with villagers to get more lapis, to get the blue dye. We do need some green dye. That's something we are lacking. But apart from that, we've got everything we need to build up the rest of this Death Star. So that is good news. So I hope you like the format of this episode, a little bit different this week. I spent probably a bit too much time on the tutorial this week. I got a bit carried away, so that was less time for an episode. So I thought we'd try this kind of thing, this kind of talky episode, which is something I don't do very often. I'd like to do a bit more of that and try and get better at it. So yeah, let me know what you think about the format and how that worked out. We don't have a Hall of Fame today. I know we didn't have one last week either, but don't worry, that will be returning soon. I got a bit carried away and I'm basically out of time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, please leave a like, and if you are new, feel free to subscribe, and if you've got any suggestions or comments, then get it down in that comment section. Alright my geeks, until next time, I'll see you later.